I call on the representative of Armenia.
Mr. President, we have requested the floor to exercise our right to reply in regard to the remarks made by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan. The statement did not come as a surprise to us. It contained the same well-known set of protracted accusations and false political and legal narratives, which serve two purposes. First, to justify incompliance of Azerbaijan towards its international commitments and destructive position in regard to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict resolution, and second, to hide behind Armenia to justify its poor human rights record. Regrettably, the hostile rhetoric which we heard has nothing in common with the commitment to prepare peoples for peace and contradicts the recent call of the international mediators to minimize use of inflammatory rhetoric. The language of war threats voiced in the General Assembly by Azerbaijan should serve as an early warning sign for the international community, which, if not properly addressed, can encourage Azerbaijan to commit new war crimes, massacres, and crimes against humanity. Reference of Azerbaijan to territories and complete disregard of the people living in their ancestral homeland was yet another proof that the people of Nagorno-Karabakh continue to face an existential threat. 30 years ago, the people of Nagorno-Karabakh stood up in a renewed struggle against historical injustice and for self-determination, human dignity, and freedom. The rejection to acknowledge these basic human rights and the use of force against their peaceful aspirations is the root cause of the conflict. The existential threat to the security and lives of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh is the basic cause of the conflict. For 3 decades, the people of Nagorno-Karabakh have been resolute in building life and institutions in dignity and resisting atrocities, coercion, and aggression from Azerbaijan. The continuation of the coercive policies, the use of force by Azerbaijan further protracts the resolution of the conflict, incurring further sufferings on all peoples of the region. There is no alternative to the peaceful and negotiated settlement. The illusions of Azerbaijan to achieve military superiority and making gains are deemed to failure. Armenia will not allow yet another genocide of the Armenian people in its historical homeland. When it comes to the UN Security Council resolutions, we would like to state time and again that one cannot constantly insist on its one-sided, manipulative interpretation of wordings of international documents and refuse to refer to such documents in their entirety. The reference to the UN Security Council resolutions with such narrow interpretation is a poor excuse for the failure to take forward the negotiations of the past 25 years, in which the question of status and security have distinct place. The primary objective of the resolutions was immediate cease of hostilities, which Azerbaijan failed to implement, instead continuing attempts to impose forceful solution of the conflict by total annihilation of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh. United Nations Security Council resolutions themselves did not pretend to be a basis of peace process. On the contrary, each and every resolution referred either to the Minsk process or the OSCE as a framework for peace process. We would like to remind the Azerbaijani side that the OSCE Athens Ministerial Declaration acknowledges that the principle of equal rights and self-determination stands as one of the core principles of the resolution of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. The termination of the final legal status of Nagorno-Karabakh through legally binding expression of will is at the core of the settlement. The elected authorities of Nagorno-Karabakh should have a decisive voice in the peace process. Mr. President, the Foreign Minister of Azerbaijan made an unsuccessful attempt to portray his country as an example of multiculturalism and tolerance. Tolerance is not measured by the number of window dressing events, but rather with the real human rights situation in the country. We would like to refer in this regard to the report of the Advisory Committee of the Council of Europe Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities, which noted a persistent public narrative surrounding the conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh, identifying Armenia or Armenians as the enemy and openly promulgating hate messages. Persons of Armenian origin, regardless their citizenship, are not allowed to enter Azerbaijan. In the conditions of severe restrictions of freedom of expression and freedom of media, the anti-Armenian propaganda by the government has led to radicalization of youth. Tolerance and non-discrimination and human rights are interrelated and interlinked. It would be erroneous to expect tolerance in Azerbaijan where human rights and fundamental freedoms are violated and free media and independent civil society are non-existent. I thank you, Mr. President.
I call